Welcome to the Homer Theater Documentary Film Festival showing of 20 Days in Mariupol. My name is Lucas. My friends call me Lucid. When I saw the siege of Mariupol unfolding on the news, I sent myself to Ukraine to help with the emerging humanitarian catastrophe. Martial law had been declared, and no civilian flights were going into or out of Ukraine, so I had to fly into a neighboring country and travel by train. On the train in Ukraine, in the middle of the night, on my way to the city of Lviv, just hours after the first major missile strikes on that city, the conductor came through to every car of the train, whispering something urgently in Ukrainian, so that the already solemn passengers closed all of the blinds on all of the windows and turned out all of the lights and fell completely silent. Even the children were silent. And that's how we rode across the countryside into the recently bombed city, in the pitch-black darkness, in complete silence, just the sound of the train. That was my first night. So why was I there? How could I possibly hope to help with a looming humanitarian catastrophe in a war zone on the opposite side of the world? Lviv was becoming a humanitarian corridor, the primary bottleneck for people fleeing the country. So I began trying to build a giant kitchen to help provide the basic necessities of survival for the people making this migration. I couldn't speak the language, so I had to translate all of my conversations. I didn't have very much money, so I started looking for locally available recycled materials to make the kitchen out of. I knew the fossil fuel supply chains were about to be disrupted, so I looked for scrap metal to build giant wood stoves to cook on. I spent weeks meeting people and finding materials and working with manufacturers, but I couldn't do it. Because it's preposterous, and of course I couldn't do it. So I came home and worked harder. During the day, I drew up blueprints for the stoves and the tent and all of the gear. Then I took a nap, and at night I translated texts back and forth with people on the other side of the world. Then I returned a second time. This time with a friend who also likes doing preposterous things. We traveled to Odessa, met aid organizations, brainstormed on how to build a kitchen and where, but we couldn't do it, because it's impossible, and of course we couldn't do it. So we went home, and I tried harder, and returned a third time. At this point, several people were working on this project. We found a location and manufactured an indestructible 50-foot field tent out of recycled drilling equipment. Work continued into the fall. There were missile strikes near the kitchen, constant air raid sirens, nationwide blackouts, snowstorms, delays, complications. By November, 28 people had participated in creating this kitchen. I had already spent my life savings manufacturing it and paying the salaries of the Ukrainians working on it. And then the Altruist Relief Kitchen became a nonprofit. By the end of the year, nearly 100 people had gotten involved. On the first day of the year, my mother died. I took 2 weeks off to deal with her possessions, to receive her body, wrap her in blankets, dig her grave into frozen ground, bury her by candlelight. And then I got on a plane and flew to what had become a winter war for the 4th time. Then, 1 year and 12 days after the beginning of the war and of the beginning of the siege of Mariupol, after over 200 people had dedicated their time or money to this project, we finally began to serve food. We cooked in 6 giant soup pots made out of recycled beer kegs on 6 wood-fired industrial rocket stoves made out of recycled steel barrels. We served the refugees living near the kitchen and delivered food to the shelters around the city. During missile strikes and power outages and fuel shortages, our off-grid wood-fired kitchen still served food when others could not. For the next 5 months, the Altruist Relief Kitchen served 10,000 meals a month, then increased this amount to 17,000 meals a month, such that now the Altruist Relief Kitchen has served the women and children and elderly and disabled people fleeing the war over 80,000 meals. It was impossible to build this kitchen, and it is just the beginning. Yet it was the culmination of 15 years of visualization and practice and thousands of hands. In 2008, during Darfur, I began studying refugee camps and designing this humanitarian framework at the Kachemak Bay campus here in Homer. Over the next 14 years of developing this kitchen, it responded to floods and hurricanes in big cities and refugee migrations in barren deserts, preparing for this event. ARC is ready to serve food throughout the Ukrainian winter. The crew is proficient with this unique system. We have commitments with the shelters. We can still make twice as much food per month, and we will completely run out of money next Thursday. We will not be able to buy bulk food or continue to pay the salaries of the Ukrainian mothers who run the kitchen, or to pay the drivers who distribute meals to the shelters. This kitchen needs your help right now. But we need a way to help with this event. We are each accidentally powerful. Our every action and inaction changes the world. And this kitchen is the most direct, immediate way that we have to help a huge number of people fleeing these situations right now. I encourage you to look closer at the Altruist Relief Kitchen. It is exceptional. It is not just another humanitarian project. It is the only financially transparent aid organization. It is radically efficient and sustainable in its ability to cook and heat and produce fresh water in the most difficult situations without the need for fossil fuels. And I am so pleased to be the one to present to you this documentary of an ongoing terrible situation, because I do so in the context of also presenting a tangible, concrete way to help. How wonderful that there is something we can do to shine a light into the darkness.